Welcome to the CEO of Destiny podcast, where you will find the tools to fulfill the purpose of your generation and wildly succeed in the marketplace. And now your host, Andre J. Benjamin.
What was it that made this important to you, and whom were you targeting? And, kind of what was your goal and ultimate hope or dream for this project?
Yeah, I'm trying to help anybody and everybody. That was kind of the goal. Early on, people said, "Oh, that's nice. He's helping young men." Well, I am trying to help young men, but there's, because certain videos just kind of naturally are for men, for young men that maybe don't have a dad to show them how to tie a tie. That's gonna, some girls might need to wear a tie, but for the most part, that's going to be a guy thing. But we always wanted to empower our own kids to learn how to, change a tire. You can't rely on, what if you're out somewhere and you don't know how to change a tire? You can't say, "Oh, hope my boyfriend gets here," or "hope my husband gets here in a couple hours," and you're in a scary place. You need to learn how to do anything. And so, and I have, I call my subscribers my kids, as I'm sure you know, and I have 80-year-old kids watching me, and it's interesting because it's resonated on a whole another level that I never imagined. People are crying watching me tie a tie, just because the dad moment that maybe they never had, or maybe their dad has passed or what have you, and they miss that. I've had people tell me they put my shaving video on. A woman put a shaving video on. It just reminds her of her dad, and she has it on repeat and just watches it over and over for the dad moment. So that's stuff I had never imagined. I thought I was just trying to put out some how-tos to be useful. I didn't realize that it would resonate on the level that it is.
It's interesting the amount of kind of societal ailment around absence of fathers and people with a lot of things that is deep-seated. It's interesting. I remember I did some work with young people, and I was running a mentoring group, and I had them wear ties all the time on specific days. And so, of course, a lot of them came to me and said, all I can do is the clip on. And then I was like, well, no, I bought you guys some. And then we walked through, putting them on and whatnot. And it kind of was a big, and then they, as much as they grumbled and complained about it, they started to look forward to it. And then some days I saw them dressing up on the off day, and I'm looking at them and saying, "Hey, we're only supposed to do this 2 days a week." And they're just like, "I know, but it just feels good. I like the way I feel." And then there was another instance where a young man who was older than me, and he had me doing a project with him that was a video shoot. And we were in the restroom, and he saw me tying mine, and he asked me, would I mind showing him how? And he was like, "Oh, my dad never showed me this." And so it was interesting. Like you said, you don't realize how much, and then even his dad had never shown him it. So even when my dad was showing me how, I kind of learned it fast. And then he started asking me to show him how to do it. And he was saying that how it was something that never had, he had wanted to know. And I think a lot of young people in general have a curiosity about the processes of life. So they want to see the phases. They don't know what it's like. What do you look like? How do you wear your beard if you have a lot of facial hair? Do you wear it? Do you shave it off? If just that process of aging with life. What does a 60-year-old look like? How's a 50-year-old carry themselves? How's a 70-year-old? So we're all, I think, kind of looking for these cues. And I think that kind of is drawing some attention to the way that you lay it out on your videos. The way you lay it out is calm and not judgmental, and not like, "Oh, you idiots should know this by now, so let me take you to school." And so it connects on a whole different way. Can you take us back to some of your initial responses that you were getting, and how were you feeling as a result of the feedback that was coming in?
Yeah, honestly, it terrified me. I've shared that. I didn't do this to become famous or to make money or switch careers or any of the above. I'm 57. My wife and I have planned well. We're closing in on retirement. I was just trying to help a few people. So it terrified me because even though I'm in sales, I'm a bit of an introvert. I connect well, I think, with 3 or 4 people in a group. But if you want me to stand up in front of 40 people, I'm a bit of a wreck. And I share that in my book. I'm trying to overcome that because I don't think the Lord would want me to continue to bring that into the future. So I've tried to face that fear. I've gotten some tools.
Can you speak a little, elaborate on that in regards to being I'm more of an introvert, but I do a lot of things that are in the forefront in regards to, presentations and trainings and things of that nature. So I can activate it, but I do treasure and value the alone time. And even though 2020 was overkill because it was almost like the rest of the world was forced to act like introverts, so it just made it miserable for people who were introverts,
Yeah.
But can you talk about how you were able to play to your strengths utilizing this technology? Because an introvert might say, I don't want to get in front of a camera, but I feel something burning inside of me that can be helpful, just as you've been helpful to people.
Yeah, it's been, because it's myself and I can edit the video, the lives are a little more scary because you have a whole bunch of people looking at you and it's live, but still it's through a camera. And so I think it's that, I've been on the Today Show, I've been on the Tamron Hall Show, I've been talked with Ryan Seacrest, talked to Kevin Hart. All this stuff is remote though. I think if I was on stage at some of these places, that might be a little bit different story. I think now I could probably handle it because I've been kind of, slowly been able to get my head around it and kind of walk into it virtually. I think now it wouldn't be such a big deal, but my first request to be on TV, I was a wreck. I did not sleep the night before. I woke up exhausted and I'm like, I just hope this goes well. And that was virtually. So then as they started coming in more and more, I kind of got my feet underneath me and felt like, okay, I can do this. It's not as big a deal and I'm overthinking it. Just got to kind of be myself and go with it. Yeah, so it's been okay. I'm not going to sit here and say that it's amazing because there's times where I question myself, I get in my own head and start overthinking. What am I doing? Is this really me? It's an out of body experience at times.
Can you speak to the importance of parental encouragement and how vital of a role that plays in the development of just a kind of a well-adjusted human? Why is that important? And what are you seeing even based upon the feedback you're getting from people?
Yeah, I think, my kids, even though my daughter's 29, my son's 26, we still say, I love you. Every time we're on the phone, I say, I love you. I don't want that, time to go by where we don't say that. And my son grew up with that. We started from day one that, you hang up the phone. And even when he was going through his teenage years where I'd call him, he was not ashamed to say, I love you, Dad, to say that back. Because I think that that's important to kind of set that as you go along. And then telling your kids you're proud of them. I think that's so important. Unfortunately, I get that feedback on my channel of people saying, because I said that on my channel, as I'm sure you know, and people said, I've never heard that once from my parents that they're proud of me. Yeah, that's sad. You talk about encouragement. When I used to teach Sunday school, I used to write up the word, and I talked about this on my channel before, but I used to put the word courage on the board. And courage, if you think about the word courage, what does it make you feel? It feels like, oh man, I can, face the day and go out and conquer the world. And you add the prefix "en" or "dis" in the front of it. You can encourage somebody and empower them, give them that courage that you feel so good about, or you can take that courage away from them. I think that is a good word picture for understanding the power of encouragement.
So many lack hearing those positive words. And I think even in a drive-by culture, I heard somebody say to me that if you just give directional and correctional conversation with your kids, you're not really talking to them, you're talking, at them. And it made me really think about, because sometimes, especially with our oldest, we put a lot of responsibility because we're just trying to encourage them that you're steering the way for the others. But, I found, and I think it may have been in the, honestly, kind of, I was convicted as I'm going into this interview. It's like, oh my gosh, am I So I went in last night and spent some time with our oldest and just told him, I said, you know what, I'm proud of you. I'm not proud of you because of anything you do. I'm proud of you just because you're my son. And I could tell he really looked at me, and he didn't want to be mushy, but I could tell he looked at me like, man, that meant something to me, you know, and it just softened up the moment. So I think you're onto something in regards to even hearing those words. I'm proud of you. You know, so many people are hearing so much negative feedback right now. And the world is kind of cluttered with that. So I think even putting that out in the atmosphere and in the airwaves, something that would spark people to say, wait a minute, why can't I tell that to someone else? Is it just based upon performance, or can I find something that's praiseworthy and something that's a life point that I can, you know, spark up someone? Can you talk a little bit about who encouraged you? You know, talk about the Ricks and the Karens and the, you know, and who they were and what they did in your life that was significant, as well as your sister and your other siblings. I mean, your siblings actually came together like a super squad, but I don't want to give it away.
Yeah, they did. I've got a great group of siblings that we rallied around each other, and I think that speaks to the fact that my parents did start well, you know, and I try to hopefully paint everybody in the best possible light in my book. Not trying to throw anybody under the bus, and trying to look at it from an adult's perspective of how did this kind of go south? You know, what happened? And I really think my book does a good job of doing that. And I relied on my older siblings to say, how did you see this kind of happening too? Because I was younger, you know, my memories aren't as great as them as being adults kind of looking at it. And I've got a lot of inspiration from Rick. You know, Rick and I talk all the time still. And I've always tried to look for, you know, I think it's important to look at other people and that's a good quality trait. So that's why I try to share that in my book is if you can look at some quality traits in somebody, they may not have other good quality traits. My siblings have a lot of good quality traits, but, you know, you can pick even one person that might be bad in certain areas, but you can pick that one and go, I want to incorporate that in my own life. I really like how they handle that, you know, and do the best you can to then incorporate it into your own life. But yeah, Rick and Karen have been a huge influence because they stepped up. You know, we lived in he's 23, my brother was 23 and she was 24 when I was 14, and they were newlyweds and we lived in tight quarters, an 8x35 trailer. So they, you know, that's pretty inspiring, that the fact that they stepped up and did what needed to be done, even though it wasn't easy, you know, and they've never held that over my head. They never said, we did this for you, so you need to do this. You know, they just did it because they felt like it was the right thing to do. So I think that's important. You know, a lot of times we help people and then we have an ulterior motive for why we're helping them. We want something out of them, you know, and it's so nice to have people do something just to do something. So
when you, I've worked a lot with people who have aged out of foster care, and I know about the challenges that come with family situations that break up, especially with the nuclear family. Can you talk about that importance of having that stability of a sibling that's, you know, stuck up for you and that came to you, and kind of even how that plays into the work that you're doing now with this project?
Thank you for listening to today's episode. Do us a favor. If this was useful in any way for you, please go to iTunes and leave us a review. Reviews will allow others to easily discover the podcast. If you'd like more information and to receive a free download, Rediscover Your Destiny, go to ceofdestiny.com. Thanks again, and tune in next time.